What's going on? Thank you so much for listening to Relatively Sane. That voice is so annoying, but we all know someone that talks like that. Can I just tell you, I cannot stop eating gummy candies. I know a lot of you that are listening to this love gammy candies. I love gammy candies. I love me some gammy candies. You know, all the different colors. I just annoyed myself. Oh, God, life is so complicated. But really, I can't stop eating these gummy candies. They're so good. The gummy bears, the Sour Patch dolls, whatever the fuck they're called, the gummy strings, those sour strings. I've even been eating those. Like, what am I doing? What am I doing? I am a middle-aged woman. I hate saying that, but it's true. I have the mind of a 4-year-old and the body of an 87-year-old. It's all fucked up. It's crazy. I keep eating them, and I think what I like about them the most, seriously, is that they're so chewy, and they're very good for people that are angry, because I get out all my aggression on these gummy candies. I just chew them, and like, my teeth are going to fall out. It actually might be really good if I go on stage with no teeth, because people might find that funny and they'll also feel bad for me. I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to knock out all my teeth and see if that works. The other thing that's been happening, which I don't think is because of the gummy candies, I'm constipated. I'm going to be honest. Let's talk about it. I mean, we all poop. And I went like 4 days without pooping, and I was taking a stool softener, I was taking a fiber drink, and nothing worked. And then my doctor, this is so disgusting, but boy did it work. He told me to take prune juice with milk of magnesia in it. It was the most disgusting thing I've ever had in my life. Like, I can't even tell you. It was a warm fruit juice, thick, with a minty, creamy, oh my God, it was so bad. But when I woke up in the morning, it was like 4th of July. I mean, I literally almost had to call the bomb squad. It was unbelievable what happened. And I don't know, I need to start eating healthy again. I mean, it's so hard during COVID. I can't stop. And I need to start eating more vegetables and fruit. I need to give up sugar. I just feel so confused. You know, I want to give it up, but it's so comforting. It makes me feel like my mother was around when I was younger. I need to stop talking about that because it was so long ago, and I need to just get over it. But really, I've tried to replace my mother's love with gummy candies and lollipops and loaves of bread, and it's not going to work. I have to just deal with it. I'm also annoyed because I have a friend, every time I'm like, how are you? She's like, I'm really good. Like, things are really good. When people say that, they're mentally ill. I mean, I'm mentally ill, and I'm not putting down anyone who's mentally ill, but there's something seriously off, and they need to check themselves into a hospital. Because if you're really good right now, I don't know what's going on. Like, I guess you're taking drugs, but you're not taking too much, because when I take drugs and I take too many, things are not really good at all. Like, I end up, I could do anything. I love drugs so much, but they're evil for me. I really, really wish I could do drugs. If I find, I've said this before, but if I find out that I'm dying and I have like a week left, I'm saying goodbye to my family, everyone, and I'm trying crystal meth, heroin. What else have I never tried? Acid, crystal meth, heroin, crack. I've never tried crack. So just know that if you find out that I'm dying, please send me care packages of all those drugs, or just deliver them to my house. Oh my God, I'm not even going to fit into my house soon if I keep this up. I hope you guys are laughing. I love you all so much. I don't even know a lot of you, and I love you because you're listening to the podcast and you're supporting me. Thank you so much for listening. I'm so excited for you to hear this week's episode. You guys are the best. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Relatively Sane. I am so excited for my guest today. He's one of my favorite people, and I don't have a lot of favorite people, but he is. He's hysterical, and I'm so glad to have him. Please welcome Steve Byrne.
Jessica, Kirson, it's so good to be with you. Thank you so much.
Oh my God, Steve, I've wanted you on this for so long, but so much has happened.
Yeah, there was. I've been going back and forth with Brandon, and I'm like, oh my God, it's actually happening today. I'm really going to do this. There's no cataclysmic event other than quarantine and everything else that's come in. But yeah, I'm super excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Me too. And you have so much going on. I want people to know. I want them to follow you. I want them to listen to you. I want to give you props because I do this with people I like. I don't always do this.
Oh well,
But
thank you.
you work your ass off and have since the day I met you, which was, believe it or not, I think we met 20 years ago.
That's very
And
true. Probably
y-
22.
yep. And you commit on stage, which is not common.
Um,
I always,
hold on. I commit on stage. I've not seen anybody commit more than you. There's
well,
like if you think I'm committed, I'm the mozzarella sticks to your T-bone tomahawk. Okay, you are one of the most committed comics I've ever seen. It's unbelievable.
well, thank you. It's because I'm riddled with sadness and need attention. But you give your all and you are absolutely brilliant and do characters, and I love that you get dressed up in a suit. Like, you look better than any comic that perform. What made you start doing that?
The minute I started headlining, I thought people are going to dinner, they got a babysitter, they're spending money to come see a show. Or they might be coming to my show. Sometimes people just let's go see comedy. So I just thought, I should dress like a professional if I want to be seen as a professional. And I saw around the same time I saw Don Rickles perform in Vegas, and he had the tuxedo and he had the big band, and I thought, boy, that looks sharp. And black and white will be timeless. You'll always look good in black and white. Because I watch old. I have all the DVDs of the Dean Martin show, his variety show, and he looks great in a tuxedo. It looks timeless. So I thought I'll always wear black and white on stage, and it's a way of just saying I respect you. Thanks for coming out tonight.
I mean, that's a professional. Some people go up in ripped shirts and
Yeah,
hospital pants. I think that's what everyone's going to start performing in. Hospital pants because they're
just
coming out of
yeah.
mental institutions. I think.
They just go straight from the airport, whatever sleepover they had at the airport, to the comedy club. It's unbelievable. I've never seen so many slippers and pajamas and pillows. Just like people go to the airport
Pillows.
like that. It's crazy. Somebody was dressed all day in normal clothes and then it's like, oh, I'm going to fly. So I'm going to go home and change into my PJs and then go to JFK. It's like, you fucking slob, get it together.
I'm going to
God
do it
damn.
as Yeah, I'm going to do it as an experiment. I'm going to go in a onesie and just bring my teddy bear and just drool into a cup. That's what I'm going to do.
Well, it wouldn't be far off from some of the things you're already doing on an airplane next to people. So obviously it's the evolution of it.
I how have you been? You seem like you're functioning pretty well in this disaster.
I got to tell you, this may be one of the best things that's happened to me because I was getting so burnt down on the road. I hate everything about stand-up comedy except for the stand-up comedy. In other words, I hate
Yeah.
flying, I hate the airports, I hate the hotels, I hate the limo, sir. I hate it all. But the hour is great. And also, much like yourself, I have an 8-year-old and then I have a 5-year-old boy. And my 8-year-old is at the point where she's getting to the point where she's like, Daddy's going, Dad, don't go. Why do you always have to go? And she'd cry. And the
Yeah.
last time before the pandemic hit, I was in my car, I was backing down the driveway, and I saw her in the bay window, hysterically crying, waving to me.
Aw.
And every fiber of me wanted to throw the car in park, run up there and go, I'm not leaving. And then flash forward, the very next week I come home, pandemic hits, we're all quarantined, we're stuck at home. And the first few months, I was like, this is great. I love this. I'm with my family. I don't have to go anywhere. And we're all in the same boat here. 6 months into it, I'm like, what fountain did you throw a goddamn quarter in to say, I want my daddy home? And you ruined the world's economy. You're ruining small businesses. So we gotta drain that fountain and find that quarter and melt it or something because everything's my daughter's fault. It's all her fault. How are you dealing with it? How are you
I
coping
know
with
it's a
this?
lot. Oh, I'm actually what happened was I got very depressed
Hmm.
and I was like just got back into old patterns and I
Sure.
realized, you know what? This is the time I really could use to work on myself and I did. Like I'm doing a lot of work on myself and I
Oh,
feel
good.
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 Um
Good.
I feel better. I had never been depressed like that. Like I've always had anxiety, like this
Sure.
anxiety my whole life, but I never ever, thank God, felt really depressed until this happened. It was like, oh my God, losing all the shows, all the bookings I had,
Yeah.
um, being home all the time, as you know, because we're always on the road. Just everything changed, and it was overwhelming.
Because your hour had just come out prior to, and usually
Yep.
when an hour comes out, you have to have that permeation period where, yeah, it was just released, but there's going to be still 6 to 8 months where people are going to discover it and learn about you. And then you hit the road and then you have a better draw. And even one of my friends, maybe like 2 months ago, she texted me and she said, "Have you heard of Jessica Kirson? She is fucking insane." And it was one of those things where I was so happy that one of my friends, who's not the biggest comedy fan, had heard about you and watched. I think something you had done on Amazon is where she found you, and she was just really happy. And I was like, "You have no idea. You got to see her live." I mean, if you just saw it on, I always equate stand up on TV to the Fourth of July fireworks on TV. It's like it looks cool, but it's definitely just not the same. And you're one of those live performers. I would say you'd have to see live, like Jeselnik. You could see on TV or in the club, and he's just a great joke teller, right?
Yeah.
Really crafts a joke well. But then there's others that do that and perform, and like
Hmm.
somebody like you or Sebastian, or even like Bert Kreischer. I mean, three very different styles. But I
Hmm.
just mean in terms of the performer, you've got to see live. There's just something about the live experience, and not to toot your horn a little too loud. But when I did that Montreal festival with you, we did the ethnic show, and there were a lot of talented comics on that. And the first day I showed up there, I looked at the lineup and I saw Jessica Kirson closing. I was like, oh, that's cool. Good for her. That'll be fun. And it was one of those things where I go to the basement. I was talking to Alonzo Bowden, who was the host, and I heard laughter and like trembling. And did somebody pull the fire alarm? Because there's like a lot going on upstairs. And I ran upstairs and you were just killing. And I thought there was like, I hadn't heard noise like that, I guess, in that space. And again, it's a testament to the performance that you give. And before we're talking about commitment, where you just 100% commit.
Yeah.
It's fucking hilarious. And you're one of the few comics I watch where I forget I'm a comedian and I get to watch you as a civilian. I turn off that part of my brain. I go, I just become a person in the comedy club enjoying the comedian on stage. And there's very few people I have that with, but I wanted to share that with you. I meant to say that
Thank you.
because what
You,
I meant to say it when I was talking to Brandon about finally doing this, you know?
I know, and you know what? I feel the same way about you because you're so physical and you're so committed. Like I laugh harder at like people like you, like Brewer, like people who are physical on stage. I need to be
Mhm.
entertained because when I just have to sit and listen to jokes, I get in my head. Like I don't, I want to be, I want to show, and you give a show.
Yeah.
I love that. You know, I really do. What made you get into comedy?
You know, I finished school in Ohio, and my father grew up in Brooklyn and moved back to New York with a job. And I asked my father and mother after college, could I crash on your couch and experience New York City? I've always heard your stories, Dad. And he said, of course. So the first day I got there, I said, I'm not coming home till I get a job. I started on 86 and Broadway and ping ponged my way down Broadway. I stopped at 50th on Broadway, walked into a venue, gave a guy my resume. He happened to be the manager. He said, what do you want to do? I said, I will do anything. I just want to work. He said, come back tomorrow. That place was Caroline's Comedy Club. I had never been in a
Wow.
comedy club until I went there. And so who knows? I mean, if I walked into a X-ray technician's office and they hired me, maybe I'd be an X-ray technician. But that's how it all chewed out for me. And I started watching all these young comics and started doing those new talent showcases with Andy Engel and
Yeah.
especially the one Karen Bergerine ran at Gotham. And that's where I met you
Yes.
at Gotham doing those bringer shows or the early ones. And you would always go towards the end to kind of close them out.
Yeah, and just so people know, you have to, when you're starting out in New York, one of the things you have to do is bring people to get stage time. So you have to beg your aunt and your uncle and like just beg your friend. And most of them never spoke to me again after I asked them 468 times.
That's right, because they got to sit through 2 hours of garbage comedy
Yeah.
until you're finally up. And it's so weird because it's all bringers, but no matter how many people you bring and how many times you do those shows, for some reason you always end up last. I don't know how, but
Well,
like,
because you know why? Well, first of all, because we're both strong comics, and also you, if you bring more people, you go on towards the last part of the show because they want
yeah,
the
yeah,
audience to
yeah,
stay. So they're
yeah.
being
That's
tortured.
true.
You're getting all these people to come, and they're watching comic after, and some are just homeless people. They just go up there like, hey,
That's
I
right.
need cardboard. You know, it's they're not even comedians.
Yeah. Well, those bringer shows were death, and I remember my parents because I moved to New York City. I didn't know anybody, so my parents were my two paying customers every bringer show I did for 6 months,
My God.
and they were burnt out after like 6 months. Like, no more, we can't do it. You do the same 5 minutes. I was like, it's all I got.
Yeah, it's really it's such a weird thing to start out in comedy. I don't know. There's no one's going to start out now. I mean, I don't know where they're going to.
Oh God, no.
Yeah, it's going to be survival of the fittest. Thank God we both have a career. One thing I want to say about you also, I was thinking about this a lot. You're a worker and a go-getter and you make things happen. I mean, I am the same way. Like if nothing's happening, I'll create something. And it's a
Sure.
gift because so many comics don't have that and they only depend on stand up and that's a problem. So
Yeah.
you have done these amazing projects. I mean, one of them is you did a documentary, always amazing. It's on YouTube about the amazing Jonathan. How did that? I never asked you. How did you end up doing that?
I had I love documentaries. I love watching documentaries. If I have a choice to watch anything, it would be a doc because I like learning about things, whether it's someone's career or the economy or whatever it might be. If it's done well, and so I've just been a big fan of the art form. And the Amazing Jonathan was the second guy I ever featured for. The first was Brian Regan, and I only remember that because it was back to back at Charlie Goodnight's, and I drove from New York to do it. And so
Hmm.
Jonathan and I got along really well, and his assistant Joel Osborne and I got along really well because he was my age. We liked Oasis. We were trading bootlegs, and we always kept in touch. Every time I went to LA, I meet up with them. When I go to Vegas and Jonathan was headlining, I'd meet up with them. And then when he was given the terminal diagnosis with cardiomyopathy, I felt horrible. But then years later, he outlived the expectations and said, I'm going to make a return to stage. And
Hmm.
instantly, I saw the documentary unfold in front of me. Jonathan's the face of it. Joel is the heart of the film because Jonathan took Joel under his wing at 12 years old. Joel
Wow.
Osborne would go see his shows. And at 13, he'd be at the backstage, getting an autograph. At 14, Jonathan's like, this kid keeps coming. I can't shake him. So finally, at 18 years old, he hires him to be his assistant. You got an 18-year-old kid leaving another continent to come to Las Vegas and be in charge of a drug addict in Las Vegas, a kid.
Wow.
And so this fraternal relationship started between two people that on paper should never be friends. And Jonathan, Joel saw Jonathan through a nasty divorce, a suicide attempt, drug addiction, got Jonathan back on track. Joel goes, okay, you're good. Joel goes back to Australia. He becomes a comedian. Jonathan does well. He gets remarried, and then he gets this terminal diagnosis, outlives expectations. I'm going to come back to stage, and then Joel comes from Australia to open for him. So the whole film kind of came full circle. I was like, that's the story. And I pitched it to Jonathan. He said, let's do it. I went and did it, and it's on YouTube. It's for free. I teamed up with a very good mutual friend we have, Bill Burr, and put it out on
Yes.
All Things Comedy, and it's closing in on 1 million views in a year. So we're really happy with
Oh,
it.
that's so great. What an incredible story. It's a beautiful story.
It really is. It's something that, and knowing how crazy Jonathan is, um, it's a relationship in his life he shouldn't have, but for some reason or another he did. He was fraternal, and that's really been the foundation and core of love in Jonathan's life is Joel, and vice versa, because Joel had a father who left him at a young age, so Joel got a figure out of it and a mentor.
What a great, see, you're like, I love that you saw it and thought, I want to make a documentary about this. That's what I mean. And most people wouldn't
Yeah.
take the risk of doing it. Like most people wouldn't go ahead and do it, whereas you did it.
Well, here's the crazy thing. If I didn't do it, I don't know that I would have gotten to direct the opening act because I had the experience of doing the doc. It certainly helped set the table a bit more to the financiers to say, well, at least he's done something you can watch and it's doing
Hmm.
well. So that set the table. And again, you're right. If I didn't do it, I probably would have just been a writer on this film and that's it. So I
Yeah.
think, yeah, you should give yourself the opportunity to try those things and fail or succeed. But either way, you're going to learn from it.
Right. And you have to take risks. I mean, I say this all the time. People are petrified of taking risks, and especially in
Mhm.
the entertainment business, you have to. Because if you wait for
Yep.
people to do it for you, you're in trouble. So
Well,
it's,
I think you and I are very similar because we're grinders. You and I have fought
mhm,
tooth and nail for everything. And so when I saw that ATC along with Bill Burr was backing you for an hour special, it's like, of course this is how it happened. Of course this is how it happened
yeah.
because the tastemakers will never anoint like someone gifted like you, right? They
Hmm.
will go, no, well, who's the cool chick? Who's the one that gets
Right.
it, that's
Or
so
the
alt
safe
like.
one. The safe
Yeah,
one. Yeah.
and then you have a powerhouse like yourself, and it's someone like Bill Burr who's so established and maybe the comic of this generation to go, are you guys fucking fist fucking me? Look at what she does on stage.
Yeah.
She gets one. I'm calling it. I'm making it. And lo and behold, it's fucking killer. And your fan
Yeah.
base explodes. And it's like the comics, of course, are like, yeah, of course. Of course we saw that. But the industry is like, oh, who is she? What's going on? It's like, you dipshit. She's been right under your nose in New York City the whole time.
Well, it's funny because on Comedy Central, like I had done Premium Blend like you did years ago. I
Yep.
remember when you did it. And then I like always had a hard time getting on stuff on there. And then Bill said she's the best. I want to produce her special. And then they were up my ass. They're like, "We love you. We love you. You're the I'm like,
Of course.
"Where have you been? What are you
Yeah.
talking about? You have not put me in one thing. I've had to watch all these people get all this shit, and now
Yep.
you're a huge fan. Like it's just so. At least admit it. Like we didn't get you, and now we do, or just something.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, when you grind like yourself, like myself, like Bert Kreischer, when you finally get when that slight accolade you've been looking for years, the whiskey tastes a lot better at the after party when you got some dirt underneath your fingernails. And I
Hmm.
truly believe that. I think when you really earn it, when you fight tooth and nail for it, it just feels better. It just does.
Yeah, I totally agree. It does, and I'm ready for it. Like I don't know if I'd
Yeah.
be as ready years ago. I'm kind of happy it didn't happen when I was 30 because I was immature.
Yeah, but then you're also fighting to keep the relevance. You're fighting to keep it. And you and I, look, we're all stocks. We go up and we go down, but the
Hmm.
clubs will always have us and we're established enough. But I mean, imagine peaking at 30. I'd be fucking miserable going into my
Me
40s and
too.
50s. But now to have that background of 23 years of my resume to go, okay, now we're starting to build towards something. This is kind of fun. So I like the trajectory. I'm glad I didn't peak early because I know
And
a
you
lot of those
have,
people, you do too, and they're not happy.
yeah, I know. And also, you
Yeah,
have a family and a wife. Like you have grounding. You have a base at home, which is huge.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Having the kids, having the wife, it shifted everything. I was so selfish before and very self-serving, and even in past relationships, I was never like an asshole, but I was just a little more invested in my career than anybody else in the world. And having a wife
Hmm.
change that, and then certainly having children completely made me recalibrate my thinking and what's truly important at the end of the day. Because it'd be great to get a meeting with ABC, or it'd be great to walk the red carpet and have your pictures. But at the end of the day, it's like I'd rather have my kid take off on a bike and see him pedal for the first time. And that there's just a different feeling of accomplishment in that. And that's something I've come to appreciate just as much, if not more.
I totally agree with you.
Thank you so much to all of my Patreon members for supporting the podcast.
All right, hold up. Could you take a little off the P's? You're hitting them too hard. Not action.
Thank you so much to all of my Patreon members for supporting the podcast.
Hold on. Now you're whispering Patreon. Is there a reason you're whispering?
Well, you said to take the p.
Somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
You ready? Action.
Thank you so much to all of my Patreon member.
Now you got to pause.
For those of you who don't know, Patreon members, is that okay?
It was perfect. Why'd you stop?
Oh, okay. Patreon members.
Cut. Let's go back to the beginning.
Thank you
And action.
Thank you so much to all my Patreon members for supporting the podcast. For those of you who don't know, Patreon members get early access to the podcast, ad-free episodes, and access to monthly live streams where we talk more about...
All right, let's take it back to the beginning. That was perfect. Do it exactly like that.
I just did it well, though,
Except
but why are you
finish it this
starting
time.
over? Thank you so much to all of my patron...
Cut. Why are you screaming?
Because I'm just trying to get through this.
Action.
Thank you so much to all of my...
Action.
Thank you so much to all of my Patreon members. For those of you who don't know, Patreon members get early access to the podcast.
Perfect. Keep going.
There's so many P's.
Keep going. Keep going.
Ad-free episodes.
You could cut this out, right?
For those of you who don't know, Patreon members get early access to the podcast, ad-free episodes, and access to monthly live streams where we talk more about being relatively sane.
Hold up. Did we agree on monthly live streams?
Yes, you told me I should do them because it'll get more members.
I don't know how to do a monthly live stream.
Don't you just talk in your phone?
We'll figure it out. Come on, let's get through this. We have to go. We should speed this up.
All right. Thank you so much to all my Patreon members for supporting this podcast. For those of you who don't know, Patreon members get early access to the podcast, ad-free episodes, and access to monthly live streams. We don't know what that is, but whatever, where we talk about being relatively sane. If you want to join our fantastic community that is so corny, go to patreon.com/Jessica Kirson. That's patreon.com/Jessica Kirson. That's Patreon.
I think you said patriot.com.
Go to patreon.com/Jessica Kirson. That's patreon.com/Jessica Kirson. Patreon.com/Jessica Kirson. Thanks again.
And cut. That's a wrap.
Ugh. Totally agree. I didn't know that would affect me the way it has, but
yeah,
it
how did
really,
it affect
really
you
has.
as a parent? Because we're in the same boat and around the same ages with your daughter. How did it recalibrate you?
Well, I was always afraid to have kids because I didn't want to damage them, like stuff that I went through, and I also
Right, yeah, of course.
always had this fear that I would get so close to them and be in love with them and something would happen to one of them. Like I have some of that stuff, that abandonment and fear and all that other shit.
Sure.
And then, I now have 4 daughters and it's heaven.
Yeah.
It's heaven for me. I feel like I have that grounding. I have that base. I love them more than anything. There's no show or anything I've ever done in my life, exactly what you just said, that is the same as one of my daughters saying, "I love you, Mama," or, giving me a hug. It just fills that hole that nothing else ever did. And I've been able to recreate a lot of stuff with my kids doing the opposite of what my parents did. And that's very rewarding.
Yeah, I remember talking to somebody who just had a child and they said, well, what's it like? I said, well, you're going to hear 1,000 things from 1,000 different parents, but I'll tell you, this is my perspective. I feel like now when I look at myself in the mirror, I'm not looking at a reflection. I feel like I'm on the other side of the mirror looking at myself. Like I have a different way of seeing things because obviously you go to Disneyland, you're seeing it through your child's eyes. Around the holidays, it's not Christmas for me. It's like I'm seeing Christmas through their eyes. You're trying to give them the best experience. I just feel like I'm on the other side of the mirror now looking at myself because I'm holding myself accountable. I'm trying to be the best version of myself and I'm seeing myself differently. It's what I'm trying to communicate to that new parent. So I don't know how you feel, but that was always my kind of analogous way of looking at it.
No, I totally agree with you. And I am committed to my kids and it helps me work on myself more and just become a better person I want to be the best parent I can be, and
Yeah.
it's just so incredibly rewarding. It really. Do you ever take them on the road with you?
I have taken them on the road with me. They're actually on the road with me now as I'm in Los Angeles doing press. And they've come out on stage and introduced me. So
Oh,
it's been very helpful because they introduced me, and then my daughter had a talent show, and she was like, "Dad, I'm so nervous to get up and sing with my friends." I go, "Libby, you tell me one other kid that's in your class that's gotten up in front of 450 people in Irvine on stage and made them laugh introducing their father." She goes, "None." I go, "That's right, because you did it. And you did it in Irvine,
oh,
you did it in San Jose." She goes, "Yeah, I did go on stage before. That's right." And then you could see the tailwinds coming into her psyche, and she was excited to go up. And then all of a sudden, it's like, "Oh, Jesus, I created a monster." It's
I know.
like,
I was
it was
just
like the
thinking that.
spotlight's here. It's like, put the mic down. I'm not done, baby. It's like,
Yeah,
shut up and don't ask me for headshots.
yeah. She'd be like, "Hello, father." Like everything's going to be a performance now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so
Crazy. How
cute.
about you? Do you bring any of the kids with you on the road?
I have. I mean, it's difficult because now it's easier with my 14-year-old Zoe. She's an
Hmm.
actress. She goes to a high school for performing arts. She's amazing,
Hmm.
and she came on stage with me when she was younger and would just stand next to me. It was hilarious, or just sit on the floor at Gotham and just like play with something while I was performing. Um,
Oh, that's fucking
I
hilarious.
I know it's great. She got the bug, unfortunately. I mean,
Uh-huh.
I believe in her and I think she's a star, of course, but it's a tough business as we both know. But I love having them with me. And I think
Yeah.
once they get older, the young ones, it'll be great to go out. Like you watch Gaffigan with all these kids behind him. It's the craziest thing.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's good because I think when I grew up in Pittsburgh, I grew up in such a small, isolated community that when I moved to New York City for the first time, I was like, wow, look at how huge this city is, and look at how big the world is, and the opportunities, et cetera. So I told my wife early on, I was like, the kids will come with me, and you will come with me when you can, because I don't want our kids growing up in junior high school and high school, those formative years, thinking life is so impactful inside the bricks of that high school because they're going to think,
Yeah.
oh my God, everybody sees me with acne. It's like the world is so much bigger than those 800 kids that you go to school with. So I always
Mhm.
want them to have the confidence that the world is bigger than that moment. The world is bigger than that embarrassment. Not everybody knows it. Not everybody knows your victories either. So always keep in mind the world is yours. It's vast. And always, I hope to instill in them some optimism with that too. So we'll see.
I love that. I love telling them that the world is big and vast and they can do anything they want
Hmm.
because so many people are sheltered and hold it in. And, it's my whole thing about people need to be more silly and just live life and do spur of the moment stuff. And it just, I've noticed more and more that people are very uptight. Not, like not everyone, but a lot of people
Sure.
are. And it just is so beautiful to see people let go and just really live life.
Well, I'll tell you, you do it all the time. That's why you scroll through your social media and yeah, you see some people trying to be cool. It's like there's some comedians that we know where they're setting up photo shoots every day. It's like, what the
I
fuck?
know.
How is that funny? And then
I
you
know.
see you like Rich Aronovich, where
Yeah,
I'm like, Rich is, I mean, some of the things he
he
does,
kills
it
me.
makes me laugh. He absolutely makes me
Of
laugh. He's
course,
one
because
of
it's
those guys I
ridiculous.
love. Yeah.
Yeah, he's out of his mind. Yeah.
And one of the nicest, sweetest guys you'll meet too.
Well, he's my brother. I mean, I'm so close with him. He is such an incredible friend. He really is. I mean, he always checks
Yeah.
up on me. He's selfless. He's amazing. And it's like I know there are these all these female comics where they're showing like their ass and all this stuff, and I'm like, that's great, but like, does your ass tell jokes? I'm very confused. Like, hello, welcome. Like, what is happening? Why do I
Yeah,
see?
it's like based on your pictures, just stand on a soapbox, turn around, pull your pants down, let guys stare your ass for 45 minutes, and that's your check drop, and get the fuck out of there. Make us
But
laugh. God damn, no one wants this shit.
It's getting even worse. I feel like they need to bend over and like show what's inside. It's getting pretty. It's getting extreme. It's not just the ass crack. It's like
Yeah.
I saw someone had a polyp, and I was like, oh my God. So I sent her a message on Instagram. I'm like, great picture, but you have a polyp, just to let you know.
That's so funny. My innards got 50 likes. Okay. Just tell a joke.
My hole got 76 comments. What?
My whole
My hole.
and
Yeah.
it's and you know it's like Sherrod is liking all those
Oh
he's the one
yeah.
liking
All these
he's the one
guys are like,
encouraging.
yeah. Someone's like, have you seen the picture of my labia? It got so many likes. Oh my God. Going from labia to your movie. This is a perfect segue.
Yeah.
I want to hear about the opening act. I want to hear all about it.
Yeah, well, there's no labias,
Oh,
there's no girls
damn it.
pulling down their pants. When my show got canceled, basically my phone was never ringing when I had my show,
Yeah,
and when the
wait,
show
tell
got
everyone
canceled, it's like
about the show. I need you to tell them about the show too, because that's
I had
huge.
Sullivan and Son. It was on TBS for 3 seasons and did really well. Did some great ratings, but it was one of those things where a new president comes in, so it gets canceled. And I just thought, once
Oh.
again, with this industry, nothing's ever going to happen. I'll never work unless I write something. So it's
Mhm.
back on the road, and I was just like, what's the one thing I'd want to see? What's the one story I can tell really well? I just thought I've never seen a truly great film that solely focuses on stand up, just stand up, no relationship, no, just about stand up and what it takes. So as I was watching some other things, I was like, I don't want to watch a film about a 50-year-old driving home from Vegas. I want to watch a film about a 20-year-old driving to Vegas for the first time. So
Mhm.
I thought, go fish out of water. Go back to those blind, optimistic, romantic years of being an MC when you would do it for nothing and write about that. So that's what I did. I wrote a film about a kid's very first time ever going on the road and all the trials and tribulations you deal with in terms of being on the road, from hecklers to bachelorette parties to radio for the first time to pleasing hopefully the club manager so you can get booked again, the dynamic between MC, feature, and headliner, and those three echelons, professionally speaking. And so I wrote it, I got to direct it, we did it. It's coming out Friday, and I think it is the best representation of what we do, because everybody out there has been to a comedy show. Not many people have been on the road, and this film fulfills the promise of explaining to people how fucking difficult it is and how much failure is associated with our industry, because you're constantly failing and learning, especially early on, to build upon to become
Mhm.
better. So I think we pulled it off. I think we did the best film about stand up.
How long did it take you to film it? Did it take a long time?
19 days to film it.
Wow.
We were doing 10 to 12 pages a day, which the norm is 6 to 7. I mean,
I
you've been on
know.
sets.
Yeah.
It was we were running and gunning because we had 2.5 million and 19 days, and we had this these sets for a limited amount of time, and I had to make my day every single day. So it was nerve wracking, and that's why I'm not in the film, because I was just so scared of trying to make sure everything else is taken care of and
Right.
situated. But got very lucky with a great cast and crew. Jimmy O Yang was fantastic as the lead, and again made my life so much easier because he showed up prepared, knew his lines, cared, and was a great conduit and great presence on set, along with Alex Moffat and Cedric the Entertainer, the MC, feature, and headliner.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, pretty wild. And it was nice to have, like, the poster came out, and I told them, I was like, if we have a poster, we should show everybody that's in it. So you got Whitney Cummings, Eliza Schlesinger, Kathleen Madigan, Angela Johnson, Bill Burr, Ken Jung, Russell Peters, Tom Segura, Neil Brennan, Roy Wood Jr., Alonzo Bowden, and so many LA-based comics that I could just call at the spur of the moment to come down. And all the comics knew the roles. It was great. Like when Russell, Eliza, and Brooks had to do the radio scene, I didn't have to go, okay, so you're actors, you've never done morning radio. Let me tell you what it's like. They was
Mhm.
like, you guys know the deal, right? They go, yeah. I go, all right, let's just try it. And we just did it, and it was fucking great. It was blissful. It was so fun.
I can't believe who's in it. I mean, that's a huge cast.
I can't believe who's in it, and I worked on it, but it was like, you're sitting around, you're like, all right, we got to cast a kind of like a skanky cop. I was like, Segura would be a skanky cop. Hey Tom, could you play a skanky cop? He's like, yeah, I'd love to. So it was just
And
a
where
lot of
is it
fun in that
coming
regard.
out? What is it coming out on?
Well, it'll come out in select theaters on the 16th. So if you live in a red state, basically, I guess you can go to the movie theater. But for everybody else that maybe cares about their health, you could do it Amazon, iTunes, any streaming VOD platform. You can get it from there. And I'm telling you, I think these days people want to laugh. There have been so few comedies that come out during COVID. And on top of that, there's a lot of people that want to go to comedy clubs. And I think this fulfills, you get two birds with one stone in this thing.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it. Like it sounds incredible. What was the hardest part of directing? Was that challenging at all for you?
Very challenging. I know your cousin or brother-in-law, brother-in-law,
Stepbrother.
stepbrother. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I went
No,
over 2
everyone
there.
thinks that. Yeah, everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, but your stepbrother, obviously, he's done it. I'm sure you're privy and heard stories about that.
Yeah.
I found the most challenging part was what was knowing that everything within the frame of the film is my responsibility and it
Yeah.
communicates something. And so there was a scene where Will is talking to his girlfriend, and we made her bedroom look like a Four Seasons. And so, given the situation where he just bombed, he, he's like an Asian guy dating this, Hollywood 10. It started to trigger this thing where people are like, why is she with this guy? When you look at her, she's so successful and gorgeous, and he just bombed on stage. He's in flannel shirt. And it was one of those things where, had I paid more attention to the aesthetic of what we're communicating, they might not have subconsciously put that in their heads. And it was one of
Wow.
those things, it was a great
Interesting.
lesson for me. Really, really good lesson for me.
Yeah. Did you learn? Like, do you know all about camera? I mean, I don't mean to sound like an idiot, but I am with that stuff. I've produced and I've acted and I've written and I've performed, but I haven't directed yet. And do you know all about the cameras and everything? Like, how did you learn that?
I couldn't tell you anything about the lenses. I knew certain shots that I wanted to do. For example, the first half of the film is Dorothy in Kansas, right? And once he gets in his car and goes on the road, now we're off into the Wizard of Oz. We're off to see the wizard, right? So I
Hmm.
knew at the beginning in the first act, I wanted static camera shots. So keep the cameras on sticks and, you know, make the office, for example, look a little more drone. When we were doing audio, I said, let's get that slight hum of the fluorescent in there. So it
Wow.
always is kind of this monotone buzz. And then once we get on the road, I said I want a lot more handheld because I wanted to feel like a documentary, like you're on the
Oh.
road with this kid. So when you're in the green room,
Hmm.
the cameras, it's a little mobile, and I wanted people to feel like they're experiencing radio with him. So a lot of handheld stuff. I don't know a lot of things, but my director of photography, Eric Edwards, God bless him, he worked with Gus Van Sant,
Hmm.
Judd Apatow. He's done a lot of big films, and I think he did this as a favor to Vince Vaughn. But once he and I met, we got along like that, and he was a blessing and so fun to work with, and I learned so much from him. And I think he and I would just sit down. What do you want to communicate here? Okay, this is what I like to communicate, and we'd walk through different kinds of shots. So I think it really is dependent on your DP. But in terms of lighting and measuring the lights and different lenses, long lenses, all that, I don't know jack shit about that.
Yeah, I
And
don't
I'll tell you
either.
the first thing I said to the crew on the very first day, I knew I was very nervous. And I told them, I go, look, I don't know everything about production design, scene design, lighting, or the cameras. So I'm going to lean on you a little more than most. And I hope you're patient with me, but I can assure you I know everything about this story. So if you just a little more patient with me, I promise you we're going to do a great film about stand-up comedy. And I think that brought me a lot of credit in just eating some humble pie in front of them and stating the obvious. So I
Yeah,
think that went a
yeah.
long way.
Well, that's huge when you don't have a lot of ego and when you're humble and when you're kind and you communicate well. You can't lose with those characteristics.
I hope not. I learned a lot from Sullivan and Son because I was the lead on that. And,
Hmm.
even like I was behind the bar all the time, I'd hear a great line, and I knew it was a great line. I'd be like, give that to Christine or give that to Brian Doyle Murray because they'll knock it out of the park. And they're like, you sure? I'm like, I'm always behind the bar, so I'm in everything. I'm fine. And I think that when you're responsible for a cast of 10, which we were, and I was the conduit between the stage and the writer's room because I was doing both, Billy Gardell pulled me aside and told me the fish swims from the head. And he was basically telling me everything I do will be symbolic on that stage. So if I yawn on stage or if I bitch that I'm so tired I want to go home, they're all going to think that too. But I've got to keep it light. I got to keep it fun. I got to keep it moving. And that helped train me for being on the set for this film. And I think we were able to keep the spirits up and goof off and have fun.
That's such a good point. I love him dearly. He's incredible. What an amazing person.
Well, the character that Cedric plays is named Billy G, and it's named after Billy Gardell because we all have mentors. We all learn from even performing at the Cellar. You could learn from Norton, Voss, and Giraldo all at the same time, But Gardell was the one for me that really told me a lot. And there was a line in the film that Cedric says that Billy told me years ago, and it's always stuck in my head like a one-hit wonder. He said to me years ago, when I was younger, I used to think I had to make the audience laugh so that I feel good. Now I know I make the audience laugh so that they feel good.
Yep.
And that makes this the best job in the world. And I always remember when I was writing it, I put it in. I'm glad that line made the film because it's one of my favorites.
That's a great line. It's so true. It shifts at a certain point, hopefully, and it's really powerful. It really is. Now you're all hyped up. This is a very exciting time. You have this movie coming out that you created, that you directed. And you know that in about a month you're going to be filled with sadness. No, I'm joking.
That's right.
No, what we're talking.
The void will creep right back again.
Of course,
we're never happy. Yeah, it'll be something. It'll be something in another week.
I know when I have something big coming out, I am on a high. Like it is like heaven. I'm like, oh my God, like I feel like I did 2 pounds of cocaine. And then it fizzles. Like the movie's out, people are watching it, you get huge acclaim, maybe months, whatever it is. And then again, I think we're both like this. When that dies down, then I start thinking, what's the next thing? And I create something else.
Sure. Yeah, well, look, you and I both know it's tougher now more than ever to stay relevant because the Netflix churning out an hour every week makes comedy specials and comedy, I believe, less and less relevant and less communal as well, because those hour specials back in the day, they were communal. Everybody, even if you didn't see it, you heard about it or somebody told you a joke from it because they were so unique. But now they're just everywhere. And it's tougher to be able to tour off of that because by the time you hit the road, maybe 6 months from your calendar, there's been how many 6 times 24 more hour specials that have come out and you're competing against.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Insane. You and I what did we talk about months ago or maybe even a year ago about doing on the road together? Remember we talked about something, was it like?
I remember I was in Chicago and I talked to you. I remember exactly where I was when I had that phone call about going on the road with a good group of people and just hitting the road, 4 headliners, rocking and rolling. And then, of course, the world goes to shit. So, what are you going to do?
Well, why don't we go on the road and perform at Barnes or something? Where we can... I
would perform anywhere with you. But the one rule would be that I don't have to close the show because I'm not following you. It's not humanly possible.
I just came up with a great idea, so no one can steal it if you hear this. It's coming from me on this podcast. I think you and I should hook up with 2 other people and go in a camper van on the road and just literally set up a show in crazy places all over the United States.
I'm down. We'll go outside an abortion clinic. We'll go outside synagogue. We'll go.
How about inside?
Anywhere.
Yeah.
We'll go inside. Yeah. Well, our insides could get 50 likes. My innards.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. I showed a picture of my uterus and I'm going to actually sell out this weekend. Oh my God, it's painful. So I love talking to you. You're such a good person, Steve. I mean, you
You as
have it
well.
together. You're just, as comics come, you're pretty normal.
Well, that is
You
true.
know,
Yeah.
yeah, you really are. And I'm so proud of you. I mean, this is incredible. I
Thank
cannot
you.
wait to see the movie. It's called The Opening Act. It opens up this weekend. It's so exciting. Where are you doing the opening? What are you doing opening night?
Oh, well, we had, I think you might appreciate this more than most. When the film got greenlit and I finished production, going to post production, I had a tailor come over and make me a nice tuxedo. I never owned a
Oh,
tuxedo before. And so I got a tuxedo. I got my wife a really beautiful dress. And I
oh.
said, we're going to wear these at the premiere. And then once again, the world goes to shit. And it's just like, all right, well, let's get some Orville Redenbacher and we'll just sit on the TV. And I think that's what we're going to do. But what I found out is that there's actually a drive-in movie theater here in California that's 30 minutes away that's going to show it at a drive-in. And I said, you know what better way to do it? Because I'm a blue collar kid. I grew up in Pittsburgh. Instead of putting on the fancy duds, I'd rather do a Pee Wee's Big Adventure style. You're at the drive-in. You can walk past all your friends with your popcorn and thank them for coming. And then you pop open the hood of the car, the back of the
That's
SUV, and you just
great.
sit there and watch popcorn with the wife, and it's going to be fucking great. I'm going to love
I
it. Yeah.
think that's so great. I love that. Have someone film it. You should have someone film that.
Yeah, my buddy's going to come and make like a little video for social media and
Oh,
film the whole
good.
aesthetics and everything. So we got a few cast members that are going to come by, but we were supposed to premiere Just for Laughs in Montreal, and I was so
Oh,
excited. I was like, this is going to be great. Finally the industry might might actually
oh,
take a
I
meeting with
can't
me or
take it.
something. But
Yeah, you
you know,
haven't done enough by making movies and directing and yeah, killing on stage and it's amazing. But you're still doing it and I'm so proud of you and I love you very much.
I love you, Jess, so much, and you're one of those reasons I miss the comedy scene in New York City. And
Yeah.
when this all comes back, we got to blow it out at the cellar and just have a great night out and just catch up.
Yes, we do. Absolutely. Thank you so much for doing the podcast. Check out the opening act. It sounds incredible and I can't wait to see you.
Thank you so much. I can't wait to see you, and best to the family, best to you and yours, and stay safe and be
You
well.
too. You
All
too,
right.
honey. Bye-bye.